Our main dumb monkey character, Hyun's hometown, was a stunning island. It boasted breathtaking mountains and a sparkling sea. As kids, Hyun and his friends dashed through the mountains. They scampered over soil and weaved between trees. The fresh blue air filled their lungs. They swam in the sea, surrounded by landscapes that shifted with the seasons. Summer, with its vibrant beauty, lingered in Hyun's memory. On one scorching summer day, Hyun, now 22 and working as a lifeguard, kept watch over the beach. A girl named Han sneaked up behind him. She tapped his shoulder, startling him. Hyun jumped, and Han giggled mischievously. She teased that he was too busy staring at other girls to notice her. Hyun protested, insisting he was only ensuring everyone's safety. Han smirked and warned she'd tattle to Auntie Miju if he didn't focus. With a playful laugh, she headed off to her own job. Hyun called after her, asking if she was off to work. She confirmed with a cheerful wave, urging him to stay sharp. Hyun glanced at the sky, realizing it was already lunchtime. He trudged back home, the sun high overhead. Auntie Miju greeted him warmly at the door. She announced lunch was nearly ready. The aroma of grilled mackerels wafted through the air. Miju boasted about the fish's plump, chewy texture, leaning close with a grin. Hyun's cheeks flushed as he agreed it'd be delicious. Miju asked him to call Ari, his cousin, for lunch. Hyun dialed her number, but the call went unanswered. Frustrated, he muttered that Ari was dodging him on purpose again. He told Miju he'd go fetch her. Miju frowned, puzzled that Ari wasn't picking up. As Hyun stepped out to search for her, Miju wondered silently if the two still couldn't get along. Hyun arrived at the beach, scanning the shore. The place had changed a lot over the years, yet he felt the biggest change was in someone else. He spotted Ari lounging under a hat covering her face. He called out for her to wake up. Ari ignored him, unmoving. Annoyed, Hyun snatched the hat away and repeated himself. Ari sat up, surprised, asking how he knew she was there. Hyun huffed that she was always slacking off at this spot. Ari snapped back, denying she was lazy and calling him annoying. Hyun started to say lunch was ready, but Ari brushed him off and walked away. He muttered about her fiery attitude. His mind drifted back 7 years. Back then, Ari wasn't so distant. At the airport, a younger Ari clung to him, tears streaming as he prepared to leave. She begged him not to go. Hyun, already at the airport, gently explained he had no choice. Han, standing nearby, chuckled through her own tears. She teased Hyun about calling her often. Hyun noticed another friend, Sei, was missing. Ari explained Sei had left quickly, unable to face the goodbye. Hyun waved farewell as he left Gyeongchon Island. He chased his dream of becoming a swimming athlete. He enrolled in a city high school for physical education, training until he was exhausted. But tragedy struck when Hyun graduated. His parents' fishermen perished in a ship accident. The loss hit him like a thunderbolt, shattering his spirit. Unable to continue, he gave up swimming and joined the military. Even there, his love for water kept him near it. After his discharge, he returned to his hometown. Han greeted him warmly, joking that he was now a full-grown man. She had become a skilled female diver. Auntie Miju welcomed him into her lodge like family, offering him a place to stay. Ari, though, had grown cold and distant. Sei had moved to the city for university at 20. Hyun took up part-time work in the mornings and helped Miju at the lodge in the afternoons. He insisted on earning his keep, despite Miju's assurances he could stay comfortably. Back in the present, they sat at the dinner table. Miju urged everyone to try her delicious meal. Hyun reflected that his life wasn't so bad. But one thing nagged at him. Later that night, he overheard two people exercising noisily, which made him uneasy. Hyun was annoyed. The lodge's walls were super thin. Guests were making a big fuss again. Even with a sign asking for quiet, nobody listened. Unable to sleep, Hyun went outside and saw Auntie Miju. He asked if everything was okay. Miju stuttered, her face turning red from the noise. She mumbled about making ramen and asked if he wanted some. After a quiet moment, Hyun said he needed some fresh air. Miju nodded and told him to stay safe. At the beach, Hyun felt shy about Miju's reaction. He couldn't believe she had grown-up daughters. Then he saw Ari sitting alone by the water. He walked over and teased if she was hiding from the noisy guests too. Ari was surprised and asked when he got there. Hyun chuckled, saying he saw her acting all cool. Ari got mad and stood up, calling him annoying. Hyun said she shouldn't go back to the lodge yet. Ari huffed, saying she'd go anywhere he wasn't. She started to walk off. Hyun called out, asking if he did something wrong. He wondered why she was so distant lately. Ari said his words were silly and brushed him off. Hyun thought she was the silly one. Later, he saw a couple walking by the sea. The girl asked why her boyfriend wanted to come to the beach. He said he just wanted to look around. Hun wondered if they were the loud guests from the lodge. Back home, he hoped it was quiet now. But the noise started again. Frustrated, he decided to tell Miju to put the sign up again. Then he realized the couple from earlier had left. The noisy room was Miju and Ari's. Peeking in, he saw Miju playing video games alone. Hyun's mind drifted to a memory from years ago. At school, a female teacher announced a new student. Ari, age 12, had moved from Seoul. The teacher asked everyone to be kind to her. Han, a 13-year-old classmate, whispered that Ari was really pretty. The teacher pointed Ari to an empty seat next to Hun, also 12. Hyun grumbled about sitting next to a girl. Ari overheard and told the teacher she didn't want to sit with him. Hun was shocked, and Ari called him an ugly goof. Hyun snapped back, ready to argue. The two glared at each other, nearly starting a scuffle. Later, outside, the teacher made them hold hands as punishment. She ordered Hun to walk Ari home. Some kids teased that they looked good together. Hyun told them to hush up. Han grabbed his shoulder, giggling, and said they really did match. She teased that they should hold hands again tomorrow. Hyun shouted that they definitely wouldn't. Ari gripped his hand tightly, urging him to hurry up and walk her home. Hyun sighed but agreed. They reached Ari's house, where Auntie Miju greeted them warmly. She called Hyun handsome and asked if he was Ari's brother. Miju joked that Ari had found a nice guy already. She invited Hun to stay for a meal, and they all sat down to eat together. Back in the present, Hyun smiled at the memory. That day, he and Ari first met. They went through happy and tough times together, becoming like family. But now, he thought of Miju playing video games alone last night. The next morning, Miju and Ari acted as usual. To Hyun, they were his friend and his mom's friend, but truly family now. He shook off the odd memory from yesterday. As he walked, Miju appeared in front of him. She said she was doing laundry and asked for his clothes. Hyun nodded, saying he'd hand them over right away. Miju added that she'd prepared a meal for him to eat soon. Heading to the bathroom, Hyun thought about how strange things had been since yesterday. Hyun opened the bathroom door and saw Ari inside. He smiled, saying he didn't know she was there. Ari, startled, chucked a bucket at his head. Later, they sat at the dinner table together. Hyun tried to speak, but Ari snapped, calling him a weirdo and telling him to hush. Miju looked on, feeling awkward. After dinner, Hyun sat alone in his room. He thought about everything that happened. To clear his mind, he started playing video games. Suddenly, Miju burst in, yelling about a huge bug in her room. She looked totally freaked out. Hyun froze, unsure what to do. Later, Hyun sat alone, worrying. He wondered if they'd kick him out tomorrow. Feeling glum, he thought about packing his bags. Then Miju knocked and asked if he was asleep. Hyun said no, and she asked to come in. They sat together, the air heavy. Hyun's mind raced, fearing Miju was about to send him away. She spoke softly, asking if he felt uneasy at the lodge. Hyun quickly said no, he was fine. Miju hesitated, mentioning the earlier bathroom mix-up. She wondered if he was uncomfortable. Hyun's face turned red. Miju asked if he had a girlfriend. Hyun, surprised, said he didn't. Miju paused, then said since he was a young man, he might feel restless. She offered to help him out somehow. Hyun's heart pounded, unsure what she meant. He braced himself, wondering if she was really about to ask him to leave. Hyun's mind jumped to exercise, thinking that's what Miju meant. He blurted out that he understood. Miju, puzzled, asked why he wasn't answering clearly. Hyun chuckled, saying it had been a while since he worked out. He needed to warm up first. Miju's face flushed, realizing the mix-up. She stammered, saying she didn't mean exercise. She apologized for saying weird things. Han, flustered, said it was okay and unavoidable. Miju hesitated, feeling she caused the confusion. She asked if he'd let her handle it. Then, to ease the tension, they started playing Valorant together. After a while, they ranked up a bit in the game. Miju, suddenly shy, dashed out of Han's room. The next morning, Miju was in the kitchen cooking. She thought to herself that she must be losing it. What had she done with Hyun last night? She shook her head, embarrassed. Suddenly, Hyun walked into the kitchen. Their eyes met, and both froze in shock. The air felt heavy with unspoken words. Miju greeted Hyun cheerfully in the kitchen. She noted he woke up early today. She asked him to wait a bit for breakfast. Hyun nodded and said okay. Later, Hyun, Ari, and Miju sat together eating. Ari asked Miju if a new team was coming to the lodge today. Miju confirmed they'd arrive by 11 p.m. Ari asked if it was another couple. Miju thought so. Ari groaned, saying they'd probably be noisy at night. Hyun glanced at Miju, thinking she seemed unbothered by last night's awkward moment. He wondered if she was pretending nothing happened. Miju turned to Hun, asking if he needed to leave for work. Hyun agreed it was time to go. Miju wished him good luck, her voice a bit shaky. Ari noticed their odd behavior but said nothing. Hyun headed to the beach, lost in thought. He felt sure Miju was avoiding him after yesterday's events. Suddenly, Han sneaked up and startled Hun. He jumped, and she laughed, asking if he was too shocked. Hyun admitted she caught him off guard. Han teased that his face looked off. Hyun mumbled he just couldn't sleep well. Han asked if he was feeling sick, saying she'd worry if he was. Han reassured her he was fine. In his head, he wondered why he was overthinking about Han. She grinned and asked if he was feeling restless lately. Han, flustered, asked what she meant by that. He noticed his Valorant rank on his phone and gasped in surprise. Han teased that he must be super stressed, offering to help him relax. Han shouted for her to stop. Han laughed, saying she was just joking. She asked why he was so worked up. Han trudged home feeling upset about Han's teasing. He wondered how he'd face Miju now. At the lodge, he saw Miju and Ari talking to some guys. Hyun asked if something was wrong. Miju greeted him warmly, surprised to see him. She explained that the guests switched their booking to today. Hyun was confused, asking if they were supposed to come a week later. Miju nodded, saying they called suddenly. Hyun suggested sending them to another lodge. Miju said she tried, but no other places had empty rooms. Hyun offered to give up his room for the guests. He said it was meant for them anyway. Miju was shocked, asking where he'd stay. Hyun laughed, saying he had friends and could crash anywhere. He started calling them to find a place. In his mind, he thought this worked out better. Miju must feel awkward too, he figured. Miju grabbed his shirt, stopping him. Later that night, Hyun, Miju, and Ari were in Miju's room. Ari grumbled about taking in noisy guests. She snapped, asking why Hyun was sleeping there, and told him to leave for good. Hyun said her words were a bit harsh. Miju scolded Ari, saying Hyun was family. She asked how Ari could tell a family member to sleep outside. Ari stormed out, muttering whatever. Miju turned to Hyun, saying Ari was just shy. She told him not to worry too much. Later, all three were sleeping in the same room. Hyun lay awake, confused by Miju's words. Calling them family didn't make sense to him. Suddenly, the couple in another room started making a ruckus. Ari woke up, annoyed, complaining about the noise. Hyun pretended to be asleep. Ari left the room, muttering she wanted to boot the guests out. Hyun thought about her fiery temper. It wasn't his first time hearing it, so he tried to sleep. Miju's voice broke the silence, asking if Hun was asleep. Ari wandered to the beach alone, under a starry night sky. She watched fireworks burst above and saw a couple sitting close together. In her mind, she called herself a fool and grumbled about Hun being a silly goof. Meanwhile, back at the lodge, Miju's face turned red. She apologized to Hun, saying she had something to say. She asked if he was asleep, startling him. Hyun asked what she wanted to talk about. Miju brought up yesterday, asking if he was shocked by what happened. She felt bad for acting weird with a young, cool guy like him. Hyun looked confused, asking what she meant. Miju said she thought he must be upset. She apologized, promising not to do it again. Hyun shook his head, saying he wasn't upset at all. He added that he actually felt a bit sad when she left so quickly. Miju paused, then asked if they should do the things they didn't get to do back then. They smiled and started playing video games together. Ari stomped through the lodge's main gate late at night. She grumbled to herself about the noisy racket still going on. How long would they keep it up? She opened the room door and saw Hun and Miju fast asleep. She muttered that they were sleeping way too peacefully. Feeling annoyed, she stood there for a moment. Earlier that night, while Hun and Miju were playing video games, a tipsy guy burst in. He slurred that he'd stumbled into the wrong room. He apologized loudly, clearly embarrassed. Hun and Miju froze, their faces turning bright red. After he left, Miju suggested they stop playing. She sounded unsure, and they both agreed to call it a night. The next morning, Ari peeked at Hun sleeping. She thought he looked kind of cute. She reached out to poke him, but Miju burst into the room. Miju asked if Ari was awake. Ari nodded, saying good morning. Hun stirred and woke up too. At the breakfast table, Ari took a bite and complained. She said the food was way too salty. Miju was surprised, insisting she cooked it like always. Ari turned to Hun, asking if he found it salty too. Hun shrugged, saying it tasted great to him. He thanked Miju for the meal and she told him to take care, her voice a bit soft. Ari watched them, feeling uneasy. Something about their behavior seemed off. It was almost spooky to her. Later, as Hyun was about to leave for work, Ari stopped him. She apologized for being harsh the day before. Hyun asked if she'd done anything wrong, looking confused. Ari, frustrated, punched his arm lightly and stormed off. She shouted that she didn't know what his deal was. Hyun stood there, baffled by her sudden outburst. Later, some delivery guys approached Ari. They confirmed she'd return at 5 p.m. to use their service. One guy asked if the woman with her was her sister. Ari clarified that it was her mom. The guy was shocked, saying her mom looked super young. Ari sighed, tired of hearing about her mom's youthful looks. Another guy asked if the young man with her was her dad. Ari snapped, asking what he was talking about. She told them it wasn't like that, and the guys laughed, teasing about fishing with someone named Mr. Kim. Ari brushed off their nosy questions about her family. After a long workout, she headed to her favorite beach bench to nap. She stopped short, seeing someone already there with a towel over their eyes. She muttered about some goof stealing her hideout. Then she realized it was Miju. Ari called out, surprised to see her mom. Miju looked up, recognizing Ari. She said she didn't expect to see her there. Ari asked when Miju had come out, noting it was already late. Miju said she'd go make lunch. She got up and left quickly. Ari watched her go, feeling something was off. Ari thought about how Hun was acting weird earlier too. Both he and Miju seemed strange today. She wondered if it was a big deal. After a moment, she shrugged. It probably wasn't anything serious. She tried to push the thoughts away. Miju walked alone, her face flushed with embarrassment. She muttered to herself, wondering what she had done. A nearby couple noticed her distress and whispered, puzzled by her behavior. Miju's mind drifted to a memory from the past. She stood by the sea, calling out to Hun as he dived. She cheered that he was doing great. In her flashback, Miju reflected on Hun's life. He had always been active since he was young. She thought he probably didn't know much about girls. She felt guilty for acting strangely with him. How could she face Hun now? She couldn't pretend nothing happened. Miju sighed, unsure what to do moving forward. Later, she went to the bathroom to take a bath. She opened the door and saw Hun was already there. She gasped, asking why he was there. Hun calmly said he was there first. He pointed out that she was the one who walked in. Miju's cheeks turned red, and she apologized, saying he must be shocked. She turned to leave quickly. Hyun called out, asking her not to go. He said it was because of her that things felt weird. To lighten the mood, they decided to play video games together after their baths. Meanwhile, Han was diving in the ocean, catching sea creatures. She surfaced, holding a hefty haul. Her co-divers cheered, amazed at her catch. They teased her for showing off her swimwear boldly. Han laughed, saying it was just them, a bunch of aunties, around. Then she spotted Hun nearby. Han swam over and started chatting. She asked if Hun was heading home. Hun, surprised, recognized her as Baddie and asked if she was working. Han teased him for being so calm. Hun pointed out that her swimwear was eye-catching. He warned that guys might stare too much. Han grinned, asking if Hun was staring himself. He blushed, saying she looked a bit too flashy. He advised her to be careful and turned to leave. Han muttered, wondering what was up with that kid. Hyun made his way back to the lodge. Miju greeted him, asking for his clothes to wash. Hyun handed them over, saying thanks. Miju said the meal was almost ready. She suggested he wash up first. Hyun nodded and headed off. In her mind, Miju worried about their relationship. If they got too close, they might not feel like family anymore. She hoped they could go back to how things were, but deep down, she doubted it was possible. Her thoughts swirled as she prepared the meal. Hun noticed Miju acting oddly ever since that day. Her behavior felt different, hard to pin down. At dinner, Ari stared at her plate, surprised. She asked if the food was eel. Miju nodded, saying it was hot lately. She bought the eels because they looked fresh. Ari beamed, saying she loved it. Miju smiled, urging both Ari and Hyun to eat plenty. Hyun thought it was strange for Miju to cook something so unusual. Later that night, Miju visited Hyun's room. She said her shoulders felt stiff. She asked if he could give her a massage. Hyun agreed to help. Suddenly, Ari burst in, scolding Miju to take it easy. She took over, giving her mom a massage. Miju said she rarely got emotional, but the massage felt so relaxing it brought tears to her eyes. Hyun watched, confused by Miju's actions. He wondered what her intentions were. Was he misreading things? It was driving him a bit nutty. He felt stuck, unsure how to handle it. Just then, his phone buzzed with a text from Han. She said she hadn't reached him lately. The next day, Han trudged to the beach, carrying a big parasol. He grumbled that it was too much to haul. Ari and Han were already there, lounging together. Han spotted him and cheered, praising the parasol he brought. She called him the best lifeguard ever. Hyun laughed, begging not to be roped into more tasks. This beach was special, known only to locals. Its rocky shores and strong waves kept tourists away. It had been their playground since they were kids. Han turned to Ari, asking if she swam well. Ari admitted she wasn't great at it. Han teased, asking if Ari missed her sister. Ari said she did, her voice soft. Hyun reflected that this was their first time gathering here as adults. It felt different without Sei, another sister. Han playfully grabbed Ari's neck, joking about her dull response. Ari yelped, saying it hurt and begged to be let go. Han giggled, refusing to release her. Hyun watched, smiling at their antics. He thought if Sei were there, it would feel just like the old days. The beach echoed with their laughter. For a moment, it felt like time hadn't changed. Han grabbed Hyun's arm, pulling him close. She teased that he and Ari were hanging out without her. She pretended to be super disappointed. Hyun stammered, asking her to stop. He said it felt awkward when she teased like that. Han grinned, asking why his eyes were stuck on her again. Hyun, flustered, told her to set up the parasol and lay out the mat. They moved to the ocean, splashing and playing. Hyun playfully lifted Han out of the water. She squealed, telling him to put her down. Ari lounged nearby, relaxing on her own. Han sneaked up and dunked her in the water, laughing. Ari shouted that Han was in big trouble. She challenged her to bring it on. Han echoed the challenge, splashing back. Hyun watched, smiling, calling them wild goofballs. Later, they sat down to eat. Everyone agreed the food was super tasty. Ari said she told Miju to cook lightly. Hyun wished Miju could have joined them. He noted she was probably stuck at the lodge. Ari mentioned there was only one guest team today. Miju could have come along. Hyun sighed, saying it was a shame. Suddenly, Han clapped her hands, suggesting a watermelon salad. Hyun pointed out they didn't have any watermelon. Han smirked, saying, "Not yet." She proposed a rock, paper, scissors game to decide who'd get it. Ari lost and groaned, annoyed. Han called her the beautiful driver, tasking her with the delivery. Han said he'd nap before Ari got back. Han turned to him, asking if he'd rub tanning oil on her. Han froze, shocked by the request. Han teased that oil was a must for tanning. She asked why he was shy, joking if it was because she looked flashy. Han's face turned red, unsure how to respond. Ari stood in a fruit shop, eyeing the melons carefully. The shopkeeper, an old lady, said they were all good ones. She asked why Ari was being so picky. Ari laughed, saying she was just super choosy. In her head, she wondered if these melons were right. She thought about checking other shops. Meanwhile, Hun was rubbing tanning oil on Han's back at the beach. Han asked if he was giving her a massage. Hyun nodded, asking if he could apply oil lower down. Han teased that it was obvious to cover every spot. She let out a funny noise, startling Hun. He told her to stop making weird sounds. Han giggled, saying Hun was the one with odd thoughts. Ari, meanwhile, went to another shop run by an old man to find a better melon. Back at the beach, Hyun asked Han if he'd done a good job. Han praised him, saying it felt nice for a moment. She added it was all good now. Hun muttered for her to stop saying strange things. Han smirked, teasing about his shy reaction. In his mind, Hyun felt relieved. If it had gone on longer, things might have gotten awkward. Suddenly, Han suggested he apply oil on her front, too. Hyun froze, telling her to do it herself. Han playfully asked if he wanted to rub oil on her front, saying it sounded fun. Hyun shouted, asking what nonsense she was talking about. Han wondered if she was being too bold. She backed off, saying okay. Hyun repeated that she wanted oil on her front. Feeling tired from the banter, they decided to nap on the beach. Two guys wandered onto the beach, amazed by the sight. One exclaimed that a place like this really existed. The other agreed, calling it incredible, and noting no one else was around. They wondered if they'd get in trouble for hanging out there. They spotted a parasol set up in the distance. The spots were ready, but they were puzzled why no one was there. Miju was at home, washing clothes and lost in thought. She pictured Han, noting how much prettier she'd become. Han was young and full of energy, a great match for Hyun. Miju caught herself, wondering why she was thinking such things. She shook her head, focusing on the laundry. Her heart felt uneasy. Meanwhile, Hyun and Han were exercising together at the beach. Ari approached, lugging a heavy melon and some bags. She grumbled that the load was too much. If Hyun and Han cared, they'd have helped her. She tried calling them, but they didn't answer. She wondered what they were up to. Ari noticed two guys chatting nearby. They were talking about the strong waves, joking they might get swept away. One guy saw Ari struggling and offered to carry her bags. Ari was surprised, stammering a response. He asked if she was alone, chuckling. Ari said she wasn't by herself. Just then, Hyun appeared, praising Ari for her hard work. He apologized for being late, saying the bags looked heavy. The two guys wandered off. Ari snapped at Hyun, saying he should have come sooner. Hyun laughed, apologizing again. Ari asked where Han was. Hyun explained that Han, or Baddie, was tired. She was resting for a bit. Ari nodded, still catching her breath from carrying the heavy load. Hyun, Ari, and Han sat together, enjoying their time. Hyun split a melon in half with his bare hands. Ari took a bite and cheered that it was super tasty. Hyun agreed, praising her for picking a great watermelon. Ari grinned, boasting about her sharp eye for fruit. Hyun urged Han to try some too. Han, a bit shaky, said it must be delicious. She took a bite, nodding in agreement. After a while, Han said she had to leave first. She left without another word. Hyun noticed she didn't call him afterward. He felt a bit puzzled by her sudden exit. Later, Hyun wondered if he should call Han. Out of nowhere, she popped up, startling him. He asked when she got there. Han teased that she arrived when he was looking glum, thinking about her. Hyun denied thinking about her, flustered. Han joked that he was a naughty guy for not calling after their beach moment. Hyun apologized quickly. In his mind, he wondered if she was upset. Han playfully slapped his back, saying he didn't need to be sorry. She told him she'd wait for his call. Later, Hyun sat with Miju, asking about understanding women. He said it was about a friend, chuckling nervously. Miju's thoughts raced, sensing something happened with Hyun. She asked if it was really about him. Hyun insisted it was just a friend, surprised by her question. In her head, Miju thought it was obvious. A cool, healthy guy like Hyun would naturally catch attention. She felt a pang of unease, wondering if she was jealous. Hun noticed Miju's odd look and asked if she was okay. She apologized, saying she didn't know much about it. She suggested he ask someone else and left to prepare lunch. Hyun wondered if he said something weird. At the lunch table, Ari stared at the food, upset. She asked where the meat was, saying she couldn't live without it. She tossed the table in a huff. Later, Miju washed dishes, lost in thought. She scolded herself for acting childish at her age. Was she really jealous? Hyun walked in, offering to help with anything. Miju said there wasn't much to do. Suddenly, a plate slipped from her hands and broke. She sighed, saying she was out of it. Hyun rushed to clean up the pieces. As he helped, Miju's hand got a small cut. Hyun asked if she was okay, noticing the blood. Miju said she'd grab some Band-Aids. In her mind, she felt embarrassed, her heart racing. Hyun checked her finger, saying the bleeding had mostly stopped. He offered to grab a Band-Aid. After applying it, he told Miju to rest while he finished cleaning. Miju watched him, thinking how kind he was. She felt silly for letting jealousy make her act foolish. Getting so worked up over him helping her finger was embarrassing. Hyun returned, asking if there was anything else to do. Miju, flustered, said everything was fine now. Hun apologized for saying weird things earlier, worried it made her uncomfortable. Miju asked what he meant, confused. Before he could explain, a guest interrupted, saying the lights in his room weren't working. Hun rushed off to fix it. Later that night, Ari watched TV while Miju cooked. Miju's mind wandered back to Hun's words from earlier. He had said he didn't mean to startle her with his sudden approach. She wondered if he was worried about awkwardness after their recent moments. Did he think of her as just an older friend? Miju zoned out, lost in thought about Hun thinking of her. Ari's voice snapped her back, yelling that something was burning. Miju gasped, realizing she'd scorched a cloth while ironing. Ari pointed out it was Hyun's cloth. Miju said she'd apologize to him right away. Ari watched her go, thinking her mom was acting really odd lately. Meanwhile, Hun sat alone in his room, scrolling through Han's profile. He wondered how to reach out after their beach moment. Things felt different, and he couldn't talk to her like before. Miju entered, holding the burned cloth, apologizing. She asked if he liked that piece of clothing. Hun laughed, saying it was fine, and he could use it as a mop. Miju marveled at his kind heart. She brought up their morning talk, saying she could help with his friend's issue. She explained that the girl might really like him, but was too shy to approach again. To lighten the mood, they started playing Valorant together. Meanwhile, Han was secretly checking Hun's profile online. She muttered to herself, calling him a tricky goof. She wondered what he was up to right now. Her curiosity bubbled as she scrolled, thinking about their recent beach moments. She felt a mix of frustration and intrigue. What was that guy doing at this very moment? Ari finished watching her TV show, giggling at the funny parts. She stretched, wondering if she should sleep. She noticed Miju wasn't back yet, despite taking Hun's clothes earlier. Where could her mom have gone? Suddenly, she heard strange noises, like soft grumbles and sighs. Ari's eyes widened, thinking it might be another noisy couple. She groaned, realizing she wouldn't sleep well again. Then she paused, wondering if there was even a couple among the lodge guests. Her mind raced with confusion. Meanwhile, Han called Han's phone. Hyun and Miju were busy playing video games, so he didn't pick up. Miju glanced at the ringing phone, recognizing Han's name, Baddie. Miju asked if Han was Han's friend, noting how late the call was. She wondered if they were really close. Feeling awkward, she asked if she was interrupting something. Han quickly said it wasn't like that. His phone showed a missed call from Han at 11:10 p.m. The screen noted the call ended without an answer. Han, on the other end, muttered to herself, annoyed. She called Han a silly goof for not picking up on purpose. She had worked up the courage to call first. Feeling frustrated, she decided she couldn't just sit still. With a determined look, she opened her closet, ready to take action. Ari returned home late, ready to sleep. She sighed, thinking the noisy guests were finally quiet. Suddenly, she spotted a figure in the dark and gasped, wondering if it was a ghost. Then she recognized her mom, Miju. Miju asked why Ari wasn't sleeping. Ari mumbled that she was just taking a walk. Miju smiled, suggesting they go to bed since it was late. Ari nodded, but thought her mom looked oddly refreshed. The next morning at breakfast, Ari's eyes lit up at the sight of meat. She cheered, saying it had been forever since they had some. In truth, it was only a day. She called the food super tasty. Miju urged Hun to eat plenty, chuckling. Hun thanked her, digging in. Later, Miju washed dishes, her mind heavy with thoughts. She wondered if this was right. Hyun should be with someone young and energetic, not an older lady like her with a daughter. If Hyun got too bold later, what would she do? Her thoughts spiraled, imagining Hun wanting to marry her. Hyun walked in, saying he was heading out. Miju wished him luck, avoiding his gaze. She felt too embarrassed to look at him. Hyun thanked her for yesterday, saying her advice helped his friend. He said his friend now knew what to do. Miju, curious, asked how old this girl was. Hyun said she was a Nuna, just 1 year older than his friend. Miju's heart sank, and a plate slipped from her hands, shattering. She muttered, wondering what she'd been thinking all this time. Hyun asked if she was okay. Miju said she was fine and told him to go to his Nuna. Hyun left, puzzled, thinking Miju seemed upset again. Girls were so hard to understand, he thought. At the beach, Han stood in a stunning dress, catching everyone's eyes. She greeted Hun, who was surprised, calling her super dazzling. Han thought to herself, annoyed that he ignored her calls yet said such things. She told him she had to get to work. Hyun quickly apologized, admitting he was wrong. Han teased, asking how she should surprise him next. Suddenly, they heard a girl crying for help in the water. She was struggling, coughing. Hun dashed like lightning and pulled her to safety. He asked if she was okay. The girl said she got a cramp and coughed hard. Hyun asked if she needed a hospital or felt bad anywhere else. From a distance, Han watched, muttering that Hun's heroic side was unfair. She called it cheating, her heart racing at his bravery. Ari jogged along the road, feeling great. She noted her condition was good too. After running, she panted, wondering if she'd taken too long a break. She spotted Hun and Han together in the distance. Surprised, she muttered their names. She turned and left quietly. Han told Hyun she was shocked by his rescue earlier. His swimming skills were still top-notch. Han brushed it off, saying he was just doing his job. Han teased him for being so humble. Han asked why she was at the beach. Han said she was just thinking about swimming. Han asked why she wasn't in the water then. Han shrugged, saying just because. Han jokingly called her a cat, mimicking a meow. Han laughed, calling him crazy and saying it wasn't funny. In her mind, she wondered when he got so sly. He used to be so innocent, but now he seemed more grown up. She had planned to tease him slowly, but he surprised her with his bold approach. Han's thoughts wandered to their beach moment, making her blush. Hyun, noticing her outfit, draped his shirt over her. He teased that guys would stare at her flashy look. Han tossed the shirt off, calling him annoying. She stormed off, flustered. Hyun called after her, apologizing for missing her call yesterday. He said he planned to call her after work. Han, red-faced, said it was too late now. Hyun insisted he was serious, asking if they could meet tonight. Later, at the dinner table, Miju asked Han if he was going to a friend's house. Han confirmed he'd visit Han's place for dinner. Miju's thoughts raced. Han seemed so relaxed now, like he understood women better. She wondered if she had changed him. Ari suddenly said she'd go to Han's too. Han asked if she'd be okay with that. Ari teased that she wouldn't go if she'd ruin their fun. Han clarified there was no disturbance and said he'd ask Han. Miju silently cheered Ari's decision. They arrived at Han's luxurious house. Ari gasped, asking if Han was always so well off. Hyun said he heard her parents' business was thriving. They were staying in Seoul for now. Ari felt a twinge of defeat at the fancy house. Han flung open the door, welcoming them with a big smile. She said it was their first time at her new place. She noted she'd been seeing Ari a lot lately. Ari grinned, saying she came because she wanted to see Han. They all laughed, settling in. Later, they grilled barbecue outside. Han watched Hun, thinking he was fitting in well. She had been excited when he said he'd visit, but he brought Ari along. She felt a bit foolish, but admitted hanging out like this was nice. Ari complained that Hun was overcooking the chicken. Han told her to grill it herself if she didn't like it. He handed Han some barbecue, urging her to eat plenty. Han thanked him, smiling. Later, Ari dozed off. Han quietly called out to Hun. She asked if she still had to wear his shirt. Hyun asked if she wanted to take it off. Han worried Ari might find it weird if she saw. Hyun said it was fine since Ari was asleep. He added that Han looked really pretty right now. Han blushed, caught off guard by his words. The moment felt warm and quiet. 2 hours earlier, Hyun, Han, and Ari sat together, sipping drinks. Han excitedly recounted how Hun saved a woman at the beach. Hun teased that she used to outswim him back in the day. Hun chuckled, denying he ever lost to her. Ari jumped in, saying Hun was slower than her back then. She teased he was probably still slower now. Hun groaned, asking why Ari was picking a fight. Han laughed, shocked that Ari, a former track star, was comparing herself. Ari snapped, asking why Han brought up her old track days. Hun's thoughts wandered. He remembered Ari used to be on the track team even before he left for the city. Since he returned from the military, she only worked at the lodge. Why did she stop running? He started to ask her, but Han cut him off. She teased Ari for daring to challenge a female diver's stamina. Ari grinned, saying Han stood no chance against her. Han wondered how things escalated so fast. Han challenged Ari to settle it with a playful match. Ari eagerly agreed, ready to compete. Ari squealed with glee, claiming victory. She teased Han, saying she had no chance. Han groaned, admitting defeat, but demanded another challenge. Ari bragged that her strong legs gave her the win. Han, determined, suggested a new contest. They decided to see who could hold their breath longer in a bucket of water. Hun watched, baffled by the escalating silliness. He thought the scene was getting a bit wild. Ari lost the breath-holding contest, spluttering as she surfaced. Han laughed, asking if that was all Ari could do. Ari protested, saying the game favored Han's diving skills. She challenged Han to a fair one-on-one match. Han eagerly agreed, ready for more. They switched to a drinking contest, sipping drinks to see who could last longer. Han was surprised, noting Ari drank pretty well. Ari shrugged, saying she just didn't drink often. Hun's thoughts raced, wondering what this crazy competition would lead to. He shook his head, amazed at their energy. Han and Ari turned to Hun, shouting for him to join the drinking game. They called it unfair that only they were drinking. Hyun hesitated, asking why he had to join. They insisted, chanting for him to drink. Hyun gave in, grumbling as he took a sip. The table erupted in cheers and laughter. After a while, Ari slurred that she was done. She wobbled, admitting defeat. Han teased, asking if that was Ari's best effort. The room buzzed with their playful rivalry. Hyun sat back, caught up in the chaotic fun. Ari slurred, asking Han why she drank so well. Han giggled, teasing that Ari was the one who couldn't keep up. Ari mumbled she wanted to sleep, feeling worn out. Han pointed to a guest room, telling Ari to rest there. She waved her off with a playful grin. Ari stumbled away, leaving Hyun and Han alone. Hyun's eyes drooped, sleepy from the drinks. Han watched him, thinking they'd finally gotten a moment alone. She was frustrated he was dozing off so peacefully. She hadn't even shown off her new swimsuit properly. All her energy went into silly contests instead. She wondered if she was the only one still thinking about their beach moment. Suddenly, Han leaned closer, calling out to Han. He said he wasn't asleep and had a favor to ask. Han, surprised, jokingly asked if she should grant it since he was a guest. Hyun perked up, asking if she meant it. Han hesitated, unsure what he wanted. She asked what he was thinking. Hyun repeated their earlier talk, asking if she had to keep wearing his shirt. Han worried Ari might think it was odd if she saw. Hyun said it was fine since Ari was asleep. He added that Han looked really pretty right now. Han's thoughts raced, wondering if he'd planned this all along. His bold words made her think he was acting cheeky, maybe because of the drinks. Her heart pounded, and she felt nervous for no reason. Han stammered that it was okay now. She said she'd change out of the shirt. In her mind, she worried she was acting strange too. Han grabbed her arm, asking why she was leaving already. Han, flustered, asked why he was being so forward. To ease the tension, they decided to play Valorant together, the room filled with the sounds of their game. Han's nerves settled as they focused on the screen. Ari was fast asleep in the guest room. Loud noises startled her awake. She grumbled, wondering what silly goofs were making a racket now. Didn't they ever take a break? She realized she needed to use the bathroom. Then it hit her. She wasn't at home. Confused, she opened the door. She saw Hun and Han in the middle of a lively Valorant game. Their excited shouts filled the room. Ari stood there, blinking, trying to make sense of the noisy scene. Ari woke up the next morning, feeling groggy and confused. Han spotted her and teased if their tipsy friend was finally awake. She said she cooked ramen to help Ari's hangover. Ari grinned, saying she woke up just in time. They gathered at the breakfast table. Han asked what they thought of her special seafood ramen. Hun took a bite and called it amazing, thanking Han for the treat. Han laughed, saying that's the perk of having a diver friend. Ari agreed, saying it had to be delicious. Hyun joked that the ramen could sell for thousands of won. Han nodded, chuckling at the idea. Ari watched them, puzzled by how casual they acted. In her head, Ari wondered if last night was a dream. She noticed a soaked bedsheet hanging outside. Was that real? Han urged Ari to eat some ramen quickly, giggling. Later, as they prepared to leave, Han told him to call her food a natural treasure. Hyun agreed, saying Miju would love it too. Han said she'd visit the lodge later. Hyun said he was looking forward to it. Han teased Ari, asking if she was still hungover. Ari snapped that she was fine. Han called her a lightweight, joking she should grow up before her next visit. Ari, annoyed, told Hyun to hurry and leave. Hyun followed, confused but agreeing. As they walked, Han yawned, saying he was tired. He blamed it on not drinking in a while. Ari stopped him, saying she had a question. She asked what he and Han did while she was asleep. Hyun said they just drank more, clearing his throat nervously. Ari pressed, asking how much fun they had to need to wash bedsheets. Hyun explained that Han got super tipsy and wanted to wrestle. During their playful tussle, she spilled beer on the sheets. Ari raised an eyebrow, asking if they really just wrestled. Hun laughed, saying they must have been super drunk. Ari thought to herself, doubting his story completely. Hun chuckled, saying Han was really wild last night. Ari's thoughts raced, shocked at how boldly he lied. She muttered to herself, calling him out in her head before storming off. Hyun called after her, asking her to wait. Ari brushed him off, saying no way. She kept walking, annoyed. Hun followed, wondering if he'd dodged trouble for now. Her mind drifted to a flashback from the previous night. Ari couldn't sleep, bothered by loud noises from the lodge. She grumbled about the silly couple making a racket. She wondered where her mom had gone. Frustrated, Ari gave up trying to figure it out. She told herself to just sleep, questioning why the couple was so noisy. To distract herself, she started playing video games alone, her thoughts lingering on Hyun. Hyun burst into the lodge, calling out to Miju. He asked if everything was okay, announcing he was back. Miju greeted him, surprised he returned so soon. She teased that he should have stayed out longer. Hyun laughed, saying he was fine. Miju asked if he'd eaten lunch. Hyun admitted he hadn't. Miju sighed, saying she'd been eating alone lately. She told him to wait a bit for food since she cooked for herself. Hyun nodded, unsure what to do. He handed her a bag, saying Han sent it. Miju peeked inside and gasped, spotting abalones. She asked if they were really abalones, amazed. Hyun said Han picked them herself, chuckling. Miju called them precious and thanked him. She asked him to pass her thanks to Han. Hyun agreed with a smile. He added that he was relieved to see her. Hyun said her face looked off the other day, worrying him. Miju was surprised, asking if she seemed that way. Hyun nodded, saying it felt like he was the only one having fun. He invited her to join them next time when there were no guests. Miju laughed, asking what an older lady like her would do with young folks. Hyun insisted she'd fit right in with him, Han and Ari, like one of their friends. Miju blinked, touched by his words. The room felt warm with their shared smiles. Hyun's invitation lingered in the air. Miju's thoughts swirled, wondering if she really seemed like a friend to the young group. She laughed, saying anyone would find it funny to hear that. Hyun chuckled along with her. Miju asked where Ari was. Hyun explained that Ari felt hungover and wanted to rest. He said she was probably lying down somewhere. Meanwhile, Ari lay alone, her mind stuck on last night. She called it crazy, wondering why she kept thinking about it. Han's expression wasn't like her usual self, and Ari questioned if her own face looked the same. Would she end up like that too? The thought made her feel odd and uneasy. She tossed and turned, confused by her feelings. Suddenly, Miju walked in, calling out to Ari. Ari jumped, startled, asking what was wrong. Miju said it was lunchtime and asked if Ari wanted to eat. Ari shook her head, saying she wasn't hungry. Miju mentioned the fresh abalones, tempting her. Ari's eyes lit up, and she quickly changed her mind, eager to eat. At the lunch table, Ari took a bite and praised the abalones as super tasty, but her thoughts drifted back to Han, making her groan in frustration. Why did that memory keep popping up? Miju offered her some pepper, saying a neighbor picked it fresh. Ari suddenly stood, saying she wasn't hungry anymore. She rushed out, claiming she needed a walk. Miju called after her, asking where she was going. She wondered if something had happened to upset Ari. As Miju stood, she accidentally spilled some liquid on her leg. Hyun stepped in to help clean it up. He grabbed a cloth, dabbing gently at the spill. Miju thanked him, feeling a bit flustered. Meanwhile, Ari walked alone on the beach, lost in thought. She noticed something odd on her clothes and headed to the bathroom to check. Back at the lodge, Hun and Miju decided to play video games to pass the time. The room filled with the sounds of their game. Laughter echoed as they focused on the screen. Ari stepped out of the bathroom, her thoughts in a tangle. She wondered what she was doing, feeling more curious by the day. Questions about guys, especially Hun, swirled in her mind, making her blush. She shook her head, deciding this wouldn't do. Maybe she should ask her mom for advice? She felt nervous just thinking about it. Meanwhile, Hun and Miju wrapped up their video game session. Ari returned home, announcing she was hungry. She assumed everyone had finished eating by now. To her surprise, she saw Hun and Miju still at the lunch table. Miju greeted her warmly, saying she was back early. She urged Ari to come eat, guessing she must be starving. Ari stared at the untouched food, puzzled why it looked the same. She shrugged, thinking it didn't matter since it was so tasty. She joined them, digging into the meal. Later alone, Ari reflected on her earlier thoughts. Asking her mom about guys would probably get a weird reaction. She couldn't even imagine asking Han. Her thoughts turned to her sister, Sei, as the best person to talk to. Ari picked up her phone and called her. Sei answered, surprised to hear from her at this hour. She teased Ari, asking why she was calling so late. Ari laughed, saying Sei sounded like a true Seoul city girl now. Sei joked that maybe she was always from Seoul. Ari called her nonsense, chuckling. She admitted she needed to talk about something serious. Sei was curious, asking if Ari wanted her advice. Ari said Sei seemed like she'd understand. She felt her sister, Cheon Sei, would know just what to say. The call crackled with their familiar banter. Miju was on the phone with her mother, nodding along. She said yes repeatedly, thanking her before hanging up. Glancing at the calendar, she realized an important day was near. She knew she had to tell the kids soon. Opening the door, she saw Ari talking on her phone. Miju asked if she was on a call. Ari jumped, saying she'd finished the call outside. On the phone, Sei asked if that was Miju. Ari confirmed it was her mom. Sei hoped Miju didn't overhear. Fry asking if she was doing okay. Miju watched Ari, thinking her daughter seemed off lately. She noted Ari wasn't even this strange during her teenage years. Ari headed to the beach for a quiet talk with Sei. After a bit, Sei teased that her big sister was growing up now. Ari snapped, saying she didn't share to be laughed at. Sei apologized, chuckling lightly. Ari asked if Sei, living in Seoul, had lots of experience with guys. Sei laughed, saying she sure did, and told Ari her feelings were totally normal. Sei said it was time for Ari to meet a nice guy. Ari stammered, surprised by the idea of a guy. Sei teased, asking if Ari planned to figure things out alone forever. She jokingly offered to send a fun gadget from Seoul. Ari shouted to forget it, embarrassed. Sei asked if the guy Ari was thinking about was Hyun. Ari denied it, saying she'd never think of him that way. Sei teased that Ari was still mad at Hyun for leaving them despite her pleas. Ari's mind flashed back to that moment, feeling a pang of frustration. After a pause, Ari thanked Sei, saying it was an embarrassing topic. Sei said it was no big deal and to ask her anytime. Ari asked when Sei was coming back. Sei said she'd visit during the holidays soon. She told Ari to wait for her. They hung up, and Sei thought to herself, wondering if she was wrong about Ari's feelings. The beach waves rolled softly as Ari stood, lost in thought. At the breakfast table, Ari asked Miju if she was leaving today. Miju nodded, apologizing for not telling her sooner. She said it had been a year already. Miju explained she'd be gone for 3 days. She asked Ari to look after things while she was away. Ari sighed, saying she had no choice, guessing Miju was meeting her dad. Ari asked Miju to pass on her greetings to him. Miju smiled softly, saying her dad would appreciate that. After breakfast, Miju prepared to leave. Hun grabbed her luggage, offering to drop her at the port. Miju insisted it was fine. Ari's thoughts raced, realizing she'd be alone with Hyun if Miju left. Her face turned red as she panicked. She told herself it would be okay since Hyun had his own room. Miju turned to them, saying she'd be back soon. Hun watched her go, thinking Miju always looked sad this time of year. He wondered about her husband, someone he didn't know well. Her guarded expression hinted at something hidden. Miju entrusted the lodge to Hyun and Ari. When Hyun returned home, he found Ari arguing with a couple about a room. He stepped in, offering his own room to settle the dispute. After the couple left, Ari scolded Hyun for giving up his room so easily. Hyun shrugged, saying it was like before and they had no choice. Ari groaned, saying he'd have to sleep in their space again. Hyun asked if she really disliked him staying there that much. Ari blushed, stammering that it wasn't like that. Frustrated, she stormed off, telling him to mind his own business. Hyun called after her, confused about where she was going. Alone, he sighed, thinking Ari was upset again. He thought they'd been getting along after the night at Han's, wondering if her good mood was just from the drinks. Meanwhile, Ari walked alone, replaying Sei's words in her head. Sei had said it was time for Ari to meet a guy, teasing if it was Hyun. Ari's mind spun, wondering what to do if she ended up alone with him. She felt lost, unsure how to handle her feelings. Back at the lodge, Hyun opened the fridge, chuckling to himself. Something inside caught his eye, lightening his mood. Ari and Hun were busy cleaning a room at the lodge. Ari grumbled that the guests wouldn't be able to use it if they didn't hurry. She urged Hun to clean regularly. Hun nodded, agreeing with a laugh. He climbed a chair to fix a light bulb. Ari warned him to watch his step. Hun told her to hold the chair steady. Ari scrubbed a spot, annoyed that it wouldn't come off. Hun suggested using more disinfectant. By afternoon, after hard work, Ari struggled to drag a heavy trash bag. Hyun strolled up and grabbed it easily. He teased her for overworking when she was so weak. Ari's face flushed, thinking to herself that he was so strong. Later that night, alone, Ari groaned about how tough it was without Miju. Everything felt like hard work. Hyun agreed, saying the rooms were packed today. Ari glanced at him, starting to say he worked hard too. Hyun asked what she said, catching her off guard. Ari stammered, saying she felt gross and needed to wash up. She hurried off, leaving Hyun confused. He thought even after their teamwork, she was still acting distant. Was it just the alcohol that made her friendly before? He opened the fridge, pulling out a special bottle of aged liquor. In the bathroom, Ari's thoughts raced, wondering if she'd end up alone with Hun. She panicked, imagining what might happen, then scolded herself for being crazy. After her bath, Ari stepped out, telling herself to act normal. Hun greeted her, saying she arrived just in time. Ari froze, seeing a beautifully set dinner table. She asked what it was all about. Hyun grinned, revealing a 5-year-old fermented drink. Ari recognized it as a gift Miju got. She asked if they could drink it. Hyun said Miju didn't care for drinking and gave him permission. Ari hesitated, noting they drank just days ago. Hyun pointed out Han was there last time, and Miju was gone now. He said it'd be nice to share a drink, just the two of them, after their hard work. Ari's face reddened, wondering if he was being bold on purpose. Hyun poured her a glass, calling it medicine, not alcohol. Ari agreed to try a little. Hyun wondered to himself if this would work, hoping it was fine. Ari took a sip and gasped, amazed at the taste. She jokingly threatened to get him, her voice slurring slightly. Hyun asked if she was okay, chuckling. Ari insisted he drink too. Hyun agreed, pouring himself a glass as their laughter filled the room. Hyun sipped his drink, thinking it tasted pretty good. He noticed Ari seemed in a better mood. He decided to ask why she'd been acting so strange with him lately. They chatted, their voices light with laughter. Ari teased that Hun was short and not so great looking back in the day. Hun shot back, saying he was taller than her, calling her a little goof. Ari laughed, insisting he was like a tiny white puppy back then. Hun grinned, asking if he wasn't cool now. Ari called his words nonsense, giggling. She pointed out his slurred speech, saying he was tipsy too. In her head, Ari felt a strange warmth. Her thoughts blurred, and she wondered if the drink was making her body feel hot. Ari glanced at the bottle, asking Hyun to pour her more. She said it was heavy and teased that he was strong. Her face flushed as she mumbled, feeling odd. Hyun nodded, agreeing with a smile. To shake off the heavy mood, they started a lively cardio session. Their laughter and energy filled the room as they moved. Miju lay in bed at her new place, feeling out of sorts. Sleeping in a foreign country was strange and unsettling. She fidgeted, unable to drift off. She opened an old chat with Ari on her phone, smiling as she typed to her lovely daughter. In the chat, Ari had asked where the cleaning spray was, noting the lodge was packed. Miju had replied it was in storage on the left shelf. Ari had said they were swamped with work. Miju's thoughts turned to the full lodge, wondering if Ari and Hyun were coping okay. Her heart felt heavy with concern. She dialed Ari's number, but no one picked up. She wondered if they were already asleep. Little did she know, Ari and Hyun were busy with a lively cardio session back home. A while ago, Miju stood alone, looking at a photo of her husband. She spoke softly, saying she was there and Ari was doing well, growing strong. Her mother approached, saying Miju had been through a lot. Miju shook her head, insisting she hadn't suffered. Her mother asked if she really wasn't coming back today. Miju said she could stay one more day since the kids were managing. Her mother stared at her, curious. Miju asked if she wanted anything. Her mother teased, asking if Miju was seeing someone, noting she looked healthier. Miju blushed, denying it and saying the lodge kept her busy with Ari around. Her mother said Miju didn't need to visit every year anymore. She said it had been 10 years since her son passed and Miju shouldn't keep suffering. Miju said she never saw it as suffering. Her mother took her hand, saying she could stop now and find her own happiness. She teased again, asking if Miju was getting some attention, despite her age. Miju, emotional, thanked her mother, tears welling up. Her mother pressed, jokingly asking if she was seeing someone. Miju laughed, exasperated, telling her to stop. The next day at the lodge, Ari and Hun sat at the breakfast table. Ari asked Hyun for water. He passed it quietly, and an awkward silence hung between them. Ari thought to herself, wondering why Hyun was so quiet. She recalled falling asleep after drinking yesterday, and he was gone when she woke. Why wasn't he saying anything about last night? It felt like a dream, but Hun seemed different today. Ari wondered if she was losing it. Meanwhile, Hyun's thoughts mirrored hers, wondering why Ari wasn't talking. He remembered how she looked pretty when drunk last night. She'd mentioned it was her first time drinking like that. Now, even sober, she still seemed pretty to him, making him question his sanity. Both thought the same thing. If the other was scared, they'd have spoken up first. They scolded themselves for feeling drawn to each other. To them, liking that silly goof was the absolute worst. Hun and Ari headed to work at the lodge. In the afternoon, Hyun returned, asking Ari if anything happened. Ari said no, telling him to clean the room once it was empty. Hyun teased, asking why she was bossing him around. Ari snapped back, saying he could leave if he didn't like it. Hyun called her rude, shaking his head. Later that night, they were in the same room trying to sleep. Ari lay awake, fuming in her thoughts. Why was Hyun so quiet? She hadn't expected this silence. It was her first time drinking so much, and she felt he was being too harsh, not caring about her feelings. Frustrated, Ari decided to play Valorant alone to distract herself. The screen lit up as she started the game. Suddenly, Hyun stirred, waking up. He groggily asked if she was too excited to play games right now. Then they both started playing the game. A while ago, Hun lay in bed, his thoughts all jumbled. He'd never seen Ari in a romantic way before, but yesterday's drinking moment kept nagging at him. He wondered how he should act now. He vaguely recalled advice about situations like this. But what was it again? His mind spun, trying to piece it together. The quiet room only made his confusion louder. He sighed, unsure of his next move. Miju packed her bags, preparing to leave her mother's place. Her mom asked if she really didn't need a ride. Miju laughed, saying she wasn't a kid anymore. Her mom sighed, feeling stiff from staying home all day. She told Miju to have fun before she got old like her. Miju blushed, calling her mother outrageous. Her mom patted her back, teasing that Miju looked lively and healthy. She joked that Miju's figure was even better than in her younger days. Miju gasped, exclaiming at her mother's bold words. Her mom chuckled, saying young guys would be all over someone so vibrant. She teased they'd go wild for her. Miju shook her head, embarrassed but smiling. Later, in a taxi, Miju's thoughts drifted to Hyun. She scolded herself for thinking of him, feeling like just an older lady. Why was she caught up on him? The driver glanced back, calling her a young miss and asking if she was traveling to meet friends. Miju stammered, saying she wasn't young. The driver apologized, surprised, saying she looked youthful. Miju laughed, repeating that she wasn't a young miss. She giggled, amused by the mix-up. The driver thought to himself that she was a bit peculiar. Miju's mind wandered, wondering if she could find happiness too. She thought about what Ari would say, and what would Hyun think of her. Unbeknownst to her, Ari and Hyun had stayed up all night playing Valorant. Their laughter and game sounds had filled the lodge. Miju sat in the taxi, unaware of their late-night fun. Hyun's mind drifted to an old memory. Ari asked if he was really going to the city. Hyun nodded, explaining that sports high schools were only there, so he had to go. Ari stayed quiet, her face unreadable. Hun asked if she'd keep up with track and field, suggesting she'd join a sports school too. Ari shook her head, saying she wouldn't. Hyun was confused, noting she ran well. Ari admitted running wasn't fun for her. Hyun pressed, asking why she bothered running then. Ari mumbled that it was because he swam. Hyun blinked, not understanding. She said she couldn't swim, so running was her only choice. Hyun asked what she meant, puzzled. Ari snapped that she didn't know, frustrated. Hyun wondered why she was so annoyed. Ari quietly asked if he could stay instead of going to the city. Hyun was taken aback, saying he couldn't stay just because she wanted him to. Ari stared at him, her eyes heavy with emotion, and said something. Hyun couldn't remember what she said. The memory faded, and Hyun jolted awake from the dream. He mumbled Ari's name, confused, wondering where she was. Suddenly, Ari burst through the door, shouting at him to wake up. Hyun flinched, startled by her loud entrance. He grumbled about her rough morning greeting. Ari grinned, calling him a sleepyhead and urging him to get up for breakfast. At the breakfast table, Hun stared at the food, surprised. He asked what it was. Ari said it was breakfast, admitting she couldn't cook like Miju, but told him to be grateful and eat. Hun thought to himself, amazed that Ari woke up early to make breakfast. Ari caught him staring and asked what he was looking at. Hun teased, asking if she put poison in the food. Ari laughed, calling him crazy for even thinking that. Hun took a bite and said it was actually delicious. Ari grinned, saying it turned out okay, and urged him to try more. Hun's thoughts softened, seeing a kind side of Ari he'd forgotten. His dream about their old days came to mind. He noted she didn't seem in a bad mood today. Later, as Hun left for work, he told Ari to call if anything came up. Ari smiled, joking that no problems would arise, and teased him to go make his silly efforts. Meanwhile, Miju returned to the lodge, feeling like her 3-day trip lasted forever. Ari spotted her and waved excitedly, calling out to her mom. Miju was surprised, asking how Ari knew she'd be back. Ari said Hun was at the sea, so she came to help with the luggage. Miju insisted she was fine, feeling bad for the trouble. Ari teased that Miju might hurt her knee carrying heavy bags. Miju laughed, saying she wasn't that old yet. She shared a story from the city, saying a taxi driver thought she was a university student on vacation. She rambled about how he called her a young girl, wondering if she misheard. Ari giggled, saying her mom really did look too young for her age. Miju thought to herself, wondering if she'd talked too much. She was touched by Ari's warm reaction, so different from her usual grumpiness. Seeing Ari in a good mood, Miju considered sharing something important. Ari interrupted, telling her to stop rambling. She said Miju was lucky since the lodge's full rooms were emptying today, letting her rest. Miju smiled, grateful for Ari's cheerful welcome. Later at home, Ari and Miju sat talking. Ari asked what Miju meant by her words. Miju hesitated, saying she told Ari's grandmother she might start a new chapter in life. She asked what Ari thought about it. Ari's eyes widened, asking what kind of guy he was. Miju stammered, caught off guard. Ari insisted it was obvious Miju was talking about dating someone. Miju tried to explain, saying it wasn't like that, just a what if. Suddenly, Hun burst in, announcing he was back. He saw Miju and exclaimed, surprised she was already home. Miju and Hun locked eyes for a moment. Ari noticed the look, her thoughts stirring with curiosity. A memory flashed in Miju's mind of when she and Ari first saw their beachside home. Ari gasped, asking if this was the place Miju talked about. Miju nodded, saying it was where she was born and raised. Ari asked if they'd live there from now on. Miju asked if Ari didn't want to. Ari hesitated, unsure how to respond. Miju reassured her, saying to speak up if she ever didn't like it. She'd go anywhere as long as Ari was with her. Ari jokingly asked if she'd get married there too. Miju laughed, calling her daughter silly for worrying about that. She shared that she met Ari's dad on that island. Ari's eyes widened, asking if it was true. Miju smiled, saying Ari's dad was super cool back then. She promised Ari would meet someone just as great someday. The memory faded, and they sat at the dinner table. Hyun sensed a heavy mood, wondering why everyone seemed so quiet. Ari's reaction earlier didn't seem happy. He worried he'd spoken too quickly about Miju's new life, maybe out of excitement. Hyun asked Miju if her trip went well, noting her tired face. Miju said it was fine, just exhausting. She assured him she was okay. Ari watched them closely, her thoughts swirling. Suddenly, a man called from outside, asking for Boss Jang. He introduced himself as Park Kyung-chol, head of the Gyeongcheon-do Accommodation Association. Miju stepped out, surprised to see head Park. He said it was hard to catch her, so he came in person. Hun whispered to Ari, asking who he was. Ari shrugged, guessing he was from the accommodation group. Miju asked why Park was there. He reminded her about a gathering that day, saying she must have forgotten. Miju reminded Park she'd mentioned before that the gathering felt overwhelming. Park understood it might be a lot, but said they'd be disappointed if she kept skipping. Miju apologized if her absence upset anyone. Park waved it off, saying it wasn't upsetting. He just wanted everyone to gather and chat. He smiled, encouraging her to join. Miju reflected, realizing she'd been keeping people at a distance. She admitted she felt uneasy leaving the lodge empty. Park reassured her the kids were grown and could handle some work. Hun whispered to Ari, asking who this old guy was to talk so casually. Park told Miju to relax and have fun, suggesting she might meet a nice guy. He laughed, saying he might have gone too far and told her not to mind. Miju thought she'd been too caught up in her own hopes. She agreed to go to the gathering. Park cheered, excited, saying everyone would be thrilled. He rushed off to tell the others. Miju wondered if it was really such a big deal. She felt a mix of nerves and curiosity. Later, at the lively gathering, the men raised their glasses, toasting to the beautiful Gyeongcheon-do. They cheered for its charm and their success in the busy season. Their shouts of love for the island echoed loudly. Miju watched, thinking this was just a rowdy party. She wondered why they needed her there. The noise and energy felt overwhelming. Some guys approached, saying Miju's presence made the gathering livelier. Miju, surprised, asked if that was true. They laughed, saying her charm brightened the mood, but noticed she was drinking water. Miju admitted she wasn't good with drinks. They nodded, saying she shouldn't force it. Park chimed in, revealing he'd brought a special fizzy drink just for her. The group cheered Park's thoughtfulness as he poured Miju a glass of Fanta. He urged her to have more, grinning widely. The atmosphere buzzed with laughter. Meanwhile, back at the lodge, Hyun tried calling Miju. Ari asked if she wasn't picking up. Hyun said her phone seemed off, leaving them puzzled. Ari groaned. Realizing they had bought a spare light bulb before, she wondered if they should go get one now. Hyun offered to buy some, telling her to stay put. Ari nodded, a bit surprised, but agreeing. Hun stepped outside, his thoughts turning to Miju. He hoped everything was okay with her. Hyun walked outside, his thoughts drifting back. He remembered the first and only time he drank with Miju, at his parents' memorial. She got tipsy after just a few sips back then. He tried calling her again, but her phone was off. He muttered that this wouldn't do. He recalled the gathering was at the meeting hall and hoped everything was fine. Hyun headed to the place where Miju was. As he arrived, he heard voices inside. The guys were pleading with Miju to calm down. Hyun burst through the door, shouting for Miju. He saw her crying, saying her life couldn't stay like this. She looked upset, pouring out her feelings. One guy begged Miju to stop. Another said his wife was calling, so he had to leave. Miju insisted he stay, saying she just wanted to live for Ari and Hyun. A man asked how many times she'd said that. Another whispered, asking if someone gave her soda. The first guy admitted he messed up, and Miju had drunk alcohol by mistake. Miju, still emotional, asked if they were listening. A guy turned to Hun, saying Miju lived at his lodge and asked him to take her home. They were overwhelmed and needed a break. Hyun hoisted Miju onto his back to carry her home. Miju mumbled that she could walk, and Hun reminded her she nearly fell earlier, keeping her steady as they went. Miju mumbled that she wasn't tipsy. Hyun chuckled, agreeing playfully. He thought to himself, surprised to see this side of Miju. She always seemed so confident, taking care of everyone. He realized Miju was only human too, with her own vulnerabilities. Miju giggled, saying being carried on his back felt nice. Hyun teased, asking if he should carry her more often. Miju, lulled by the motion, fell asleep on his back. Hyun reflected, understanding that sometimes she needed someone to lean on too. He smiled softly, feeling closer to her. He brought her home and gently laid her in bed. Carrying her was tougher than he expected, and he wondered where Ari had gone. He realized he forgot to buy the light bulb. Miju stirred, groaning about how hard things were. Hyun, startled, called out to her. She sat up and hugged him, calling him honey. Hyun froze, wondering if she mistook him for her husband. He gently said she was tipsy and reminded her he was Hyun. He urged her to sleep. To lighten the mood, they started a lively cardio session together. Their laughter and energy filled the room. The night buzzed with their unexpected fun. At the gathering, the guys were deep in a lively card game. Ari burst in, shouting for attention. Everyone turned, surprised, recognizing her as Boss Jang's daughter. Ari demanded to know where her mom was. Park, the head, said a young man took her home a while ago. He suggested Ari should have called him first. Ari's thoughts raced, realizing it was Hun. She fumed, noting he left his phone behind and her mom's phone was off too. Worried, she came to check, but now felt foolish. The guys teased, saying she came for nothing. They invited her to join their card game, asking if she played Go Stop. Park scolded them, warning that Ari had a fiery temper like her mom. The guys gasped, agreeing she must be just like Miju. Ari snapped that she could hear them. She asked when her mom and Hun left. They told her it was a bit ago. Ari hurried home, unaware that Hun and Miju had been doing a cardio session. She called out for her mom as she entered, her mind buzzing with frustration. She thought Hun had caused trouble and her trip to the hall was pointless. Before she could open the door, Hyun greeted her, asking where she'd been. Ari, startled, said she was worried since he and Miju hadn't returned. Hyun explained he just brought Miju home. He said she was sleeping and to keep quiet. The house was calm, but Ari's thoughts were anything but. Hyun yawned, saying it was late and he was heading to bed. Ari called out, reminding him about the forgotten light bulbs. Hyun apologized, admitting he forgot to buy them. Ari's thoughts churned, annoyed that she went out worrying about him and her mom. She felt frustrated by his carelessness. She muttered to herself, irritated by the whole situation. As Ari entered the room, her foot slipped on a damp spot. She realized it was sweat from their earlier cardio session. Her face twisted in discomfort. Later, Hun lay in bed, wondering if Ari bought his excuse. He thought about Miju, convinced she mistook him for someone else during their workout. His mind replayed the awkward moment, unsure if he handled it right. Suddenly, Miju entered, startling Hun. He asked if she'd sobered up from the night's drinks. Miju, still groggy, called him honey and asked if they could pick up their earlier activity. Hyun blinked, caught off guard by her words. The room felt heavy with confusion. Their voices echoed softly in the quiet lodge. Miju stood in the kitchen, lost in thought, lost and fringed, recalling how she got carried away last night. She hadn't meant to call Hun honey, but was caught up in the moment and didn't want to stop their fun cardio session. She worried Hun might have felt uncomfortable. Guilt crept in, though she couldn't deny it felt nice. Her mind wandered, imagining if Hun could really be someone special to her. Suddenly, Ari burst in, calling for her mom. Miju, startled, said breakfast wasn't ready yet. Ari insisted she had something important to say. Their eyes locked, tension hanging in the air. The kitchen grew quiet as they faced each other. Miju braced herself, unsure what Ari wanted to talk about. Miju stood in the kitchen saying she needed to finish cooking breakfast. She suggested they talk later. Ari cut her off, asking if Miju was dating someone. Miju, shocked, said she'd already explained it wasn't like that yet. Ari insisted she was grown up now, not a clueless kid. She asked if Miju really didn't know why she was acting this way. Miju's thoughts raced, wondering if Ari had found out about her moment with Hun yesterday. Her heart sank at the thought of Ari knowing. Before she could respond, Hyun appeared at the kitchen door, asking why Ari was blocking the way. He said he just wanted water. Ari and Miju stared at each other, tension thick, before Ari stormed out. Hyun, confused, asked what that was about. Later at the breakfast table, they finished eating. Ari thanked Miju for the food. Miju, surprised, asked if she was done already. Hyun teased Ari, asking if she was sick since she left food behind. Ari frowned, asking why he'd say that. Miju smiled quietly, sensing the odd mood. Suddenly, Hyun's phone buzzed. He checked it and announced he'd eat lunch out. Miju asked if he was meeting friends. Hyun said Han invited him for a meal. Ari and Miju froze, shocked. Ari teased that Hyun must be into older ladies, given how quickly he ran to Han's call. Hyun brushed it off, calling her words silly nonsense. Ari pressed, asking if he preferred friends her age then, shrugging it off. Hyun thought to himself, puzzled by the tense atmosphere. To break it, he declared he liked younger folks. Ari and Miju gasped, stunned by his bold reply. The room buzzed with awkward surprise. Hyun thanked Miju for the meal, saying he'd head out first. He left the table, grabbing his things. Miju said she'd clean up since they were done. Ari nodded quietly, still processing their earlier talk. The kitchen grew calm as Miju started tidying. Ari sat in silence, lost in thought. Later, Hyun walked alone with a bag, heading to meet Han. He thought it was odd for her to call him so suddenly. He wondered if this was really a place to eat. Han appeared, teasingly calling him a popular guy. Hyun, surprised, greeted her. They soon found themselves on a boat, drifting on the ocean. Han wondered to himself, confused, thinking he came for a meal. Han grinned, saying the ocean felt different from the beach. She called it a perfect day for boat fishing. Han, puzzled, asked about the meal she promised. Han laughed, saying the freshest seafood was what they'd catch themselves. Hyun admitted he'd never fished before. Han was shocked, asking how a sea dweller like him never fished. She offered to teach him, excited. Han showed him how to hold the rod, cast the line, and wait for it to touch the sea floor. She told him to keep turning the wheel until he felt it settle. Hyun felt her standing close, their bodies brushing together. He thought it was way too near. Han mumbled that she was too close. Han teased him to focus, saying a fish could bite anytime. In her mind, she found Han adorable, surprised he was flustered. She thought he was acting tough lately, but her plan seemed to be working. Suddenly, the line tugged, signaling a bite. Hyun asked if he got something. Han shouted to turn the wheel the other way quickly. Han reeled it in, catching a fish. Han cheered, amazed he caught one on his first try. Han grinned, thanking her for the help. They laughed together, the boat rocking gently. The ocean sparkled under the sun as their excitement grew. Han declared she'd catch a fish too, eager to join in. She giggled, ready to show her skills. Suddenly, Hyun grabbed her fishing rod, surprising her. Han asked what he was doing. Hyun said he was helping her, just like she helped him earlier. Han teased that she wasn't a newbie like him. Hyun grinned, asking if she didn't like his help. He offered to back off if she wasn't into it. Han laughed, calling him confident. Their playful banter filled the air. The boat rocked gently as they focused on fishing. After a while, Han asked Hun how long they'd keep sharing the fishing rod. Hun said there was only one rod and he wanted to fish with her. Han sighed, calling him bold. In her thoughts, she admitted she didn't mind the cozy feeling. But his confidence somehow annoyed her. She felt a mix of amusement and irritation. Suddenly, Han teased, asking if Hun liked her that much. She said he could stick closer if he wanted. Han playfully leaned in, joking about her charm. In a swift move, she pushed Hun into the water, laughing. She teased if his heart was racing, giggling at her prank. Han called out, saying he shouldn't mess with her. Hun climbed back onto the boat, soaked and grumbling that she was in trouble now. He looked around, but Han was gone. She popped up from the water, saying she'd dive for fresh seafood and told him to keep fishing. Hun muttered that she got him good. He held the rod, plotting a playful comeback. Han swam underwater, hunting for more catches. Suddenly, Hyun's line tugged and he shouted that he got something. His excitement echoed over the water. Han surfaced from the water holding a net brimming with sea fish. She teased Hyun, asking if he caught many. Han, amazed, called her incredible. Later, they sat down to eat the fresh seafood. Hyun asked when she learned to catch fish like that. Han laughed, saying it was basic for divers like her. Han took a bite, praising how delicious it was. Han grinned, asking if he admitted her skills. She playfully held a spoon to his mouth, urging him to eat before her hands got tired. Hyun ate and Han giggled, saying he was a good eater. After the meal, Han asked how he liked the freshest seafood ever. Hyun said it was his first time eating something just caught, but wondered why she suddenly invited him. Han paused, saying she'd been thinking. She noticed Hyun was always with Sei and Ari in her memories. Those times were fun, but something felt missing. She realized they'd never spent time with just the two of them. She wanted a special moment with him alone. Han grabbed his arm, her voice warm and playful. Hyun, surprised, asked if she'd throw him in the water again. Han teased that he was too forward earlier without setting the mood. Hyun asked about now, curious. Han called him a kid for asking every little thing. Hyun admitted he felt a bit awkward, still damp from the water. Han laughed, saying she was in the same boat after his prank. Hyun, curious, asked about her diving gear, wondering if it came off. Han blinked, caught off guard as he clarified he was just wondering. Hyun said it looked even prettier than he imagined. Han teased that his words didn't sound convincing. Hyun insisted he meant it, grinning. He jokingly said she owed him for throwing him in earlier. Han laughed, asking if he was ready for a playful scolding. They started a lively cardio session, their laughter filling the air. Later that afternoon, Han stretched, saying their time together was super refreshing. She teased Han, asking if he had fun because of her. Han grinned, suggesting maybe she had fun because of him. Han laughed, calling him a silly goof for saying that. They both chuckled, enjoying the playful moment. Han asked if Han was heading home now. She nodded, saying she needed to wash up right away, feeling drained. Han offered to walk her home. Han waved him off, saying it wasn't even dark yet. She told him to take care with a smile. Han waved back as she called him a famous guy. He laughed, brushing off the nickname with a joke. Hyun started walking away, heading back to the lodge. Han stood for a moment, her thoughts lingering on something unspoken. In her sole apartment, Sei checked her bags, wondering if she packed everything. She was eager to head home quickly. She paused, looking at an old childhood photo of her and Hyun, smiling softly. She whispered to herself, telling Hyun to wait for her. The photo brought back warm memories. Sei zipped her bag, ready to return to Gyeongcheon-do. Meanwhile, at the lodge, Hun stood dressed in a formal outfit. He grumbled, wondering why they couldn't just leave together instead of meeting like this. He felt awkward in his fancy clothes. Ari arrived, calling out to him, asking if he waited long. Hun blinked, asking if she always wore such outfits. Ari, flustered, asked if it looked weird. Hun said it wasn't the clothes, but something seemed off about her. He asked if she was feeling okay. Ari, annoyed, called him a goof and told him to drop it. She ordered him to follow her. Hyun, confused, asked where they were going. Ari snapped that they'd go wherever she wanted. Later, they sat at a restaurant. Hyun was surprised they came all the way just for rice cakes. Ari said no place in Gyeongcheon-do made them like this. Hyun teased that girls always love rice cakes, saying she was no different. Ari huffed, saying of course she was a girl too. They shared a light laugh, the restaurant buzzing around them. Ari insisted she was an ordinary girl too. Hyun started to respond, but Ari shoved a spoonful of rice cakes in his mouth, telling him to hush and eat. She said they were delicious. Hyun mumbled that it was spicy. Ari asked if it was too spicy for him. Hyun admitted it was strangely tasty despite the heat. Ari grinned, saying she knew he'd love it. Hyun said the savory flavor was surprisingly good. Ari laughed, saying he'd fall for the taste now. She was glad they came to the restaurant. Hun noted it was a tourist spot and pricey. Ari waved it off, telling him not to worry about the cost. Suddenly, Ari pulled out her phone, wanting to take a picture. She told Hun to pose naturally. Hun, shy, asked what she was doing. Ari instructed him to look out the window, not at her. Hun tried, asking if his pose was okay. Ari teased that his face looked too stiff and to act more natural. She snapped the photo, exclaiming it turned out great. Ari took a selfie next, joking that the picture didn't capture the real Hun. He shot back, laughing, saying the same about her. Ari told him to hush, giggling. Their playful banter filled the restaurant. Ari suddenly pulled a chair closer to Hun. He asked why she was scooting so near. Ari said the spot looked better for photos and told him to get closer. Hun felt awkward acting chummy so suddenly. Ari teased that he seemed to be enjoying it. Hun denied it, flustered but smiling. They snapped a selfie, laughing as they checked the picture. Later, they hopped on a bicycle, with Hun pedaling. Ari shouted that they were going too fast. Hun chuckled, saying he wasn't even riding properly. Ari demanded he slow down. Hun sped up, laughing as Ari squealed with excitement, calling the speed amazing. Their joy echoed as they rode through the streets. They arrived at an old school, and Ari asked why they came there. Hun said he just wanted to visit. Ari noted the place looked neglected. Hun heard it might shut down soon. He reminisced about the sports field, recalling how tough running there was and how much he disliked it. Hun turned to Ari, asking why she stopped running. He said it would have been great if she'd kept going. Ari, surprised, asked if he really didn't remember why. Hun, confused, asked if there was something to recall. Ari brushed it off, telling him to forget it. Hyun said that's why he wanted to come here and suggested checking out the classroom. He thought to himself that Ari was acting really strange today. The school stood quiet around them. Hyun and Ari stood in the old classroom, surrounded by memories. Hyun asked Ari how she liked the day, saying she had fun. Ari agreed it was a good time. Hyun noted how much had changed since they were kids. Ari said they were too busy growing up back then. They never really appreciated the place for what it was. Ari smiled, saying Gyeongcheon-do was a great place to live. Hyun nodded enthusiastically, agreeing. Ari's tone softened, asking if he was staying for good. Hyun looked puzzled, unsure what she meant. Ari clarified, asking if he'd leave again like before. Hyun laughed, saying why would he leave when life was so good with her and Miju? Ari brought up his earlier question about why she stopped running. She told him to come closer, ready to explain. Hyun said she could just tell him without getting close. Ari leaned in, saying he might not get it, but she stopped because she liked him. She called him a silly goof, her voice soft. The classroom grew quiet, their words hanging in the air. Hyun's thoughts swirled around Ari. He remembered their rocky start, thinking they'd always clash. But in middle school, they grew closer, and meeting again as adults changed things again. He never quite understood what Ari was thinking. Back then, their closeness might have been from drinking, but now it was different. Even a goof like him could see Ari liked him as more than a friend, and he felt something for her too. They continued their lively cardio session, full of energy and laughter. Later, Miju sat eating dinner alone, feeling the food lacked flavor without company. She looked up as Hyun and Ari returned, asking if they'd eaten. Ari said no, whining about her hunger. Hyun agreed, grinning at Miju, saying he was starving too. Miju offered to whip up some food. Ari thanked her, saying she loved her with a smile. Miju thought to herself, noticing they spent the whole day together. She wondered when they got so chummy. Their bond seemed stronger than before, the house filled with warmth as they gathered. The next day, Sei strolled along the Gyeongcheon-do beach. Nearby guys gawked, whispering if she was a celebrity. They doubted a star would visit their small island, guessing maybe she was there for filming. Sei breathed in deeply, feeling the air was special. She smiled, greeting her hometown after a long time. The ocean sparkled, welcoming her back. Sei tripped while walking on the beach, tumbling to the sand. Nearby guys asked if she was okay, noting she fell hard. Sei jumped up, face red, muttering how embarrassing it was. She ran off, repeating her mortification with each step. The guys watched, surprised by her quick exit. The beach breeze carried her flustered words away. Meanwhile, at home, Miju sat alone, lost in thought. Earlier, she'd asked Ari what she was doing. Ari said she was packing a lunchbox. Miju was surprised, asking about it. Ari explained she and Hun planned to eat outside. She wanted to make it special, even if her cooking wasn't as good as Miju's. Miju offered to help, but Ari insisted on doing it herself. Back in the present, Miju reflected on Ari's behavior. Ever since she mentioned starting a new life, Ari seemed much closer to Hyun. Miju wondered if Ari had feelings for him. Her heart felt heavy with the thought. The quiet house amplified her musings. Suddenly, a girl's voice called from outside. Miju stepped out, thinking it was a guest. Sei stood there, exclaiming how Miju hadn't changed. Miju, confused, said there were no reservations. Sei teased that she was hurt because Miju didn't recognize her. She joked she'd gotten much prettier, grinning widely. Miju gasped, realizing it was Sei. She asked what brought her back, overjoyed. Sei asked if Miju had been well. Miju grabbed her hands, saying Sei looked so slim, and asked if she'd eaten. Sei admitted she hadn't. Miju insisted she come inside, saying they'd fix that right away. Ari and Hun sat on a bench, enjoying their lunch. Hun praised the food, saying it was delicious. Ari grinned, boasting she'd gotten better at cooking since before.